Hello and welcome back to the Erin Cruz Show. We have Devon Mathis on the line. He is actually a current assemblyman for the 26th district. And I'm going to tell you, we had, as some might say, a difficult time in the election cycle here in 2018. I kind of beg to differ in some ways, in some sense of the word. We held the Senate over in D.C., and we also, the House, we didn't lose as many seats as historically have been lost here in the state of California, though. In the Assembly, the Democrats did gain back that supermajority, but it's not December 7th. All the votes have not been counted yet. And I have to tell you, the guy on the line here, Devon, he literally got reelected. And we are looking so forward to seeing what he has planned when he goes back into his next term. Welcome to the Erin Cruz Show, Devon.
And thanks for having me back.
Oh, we're just so happy. So now, the year hasn't ended up yet. It's still rounding out. The counts are still coming in. There were a few upsets, but you made it. How does that feel?
It feels great. I mean, it's when you're looking around, and in my caucus looks like we lost 5.
Right.
That's a pretty tough hit, but it's not over.
Could have been worse,
and
right?
Nothing in politics is over. So, I mean, you've got to look at what was done, what worked and where it worked, and kind of review and go, hey, okay, here's what we're doing right, here's what we're doing wrong, here's where people are at in California and what they think. And I think that's the biggest thing in politics that a lot of people get confused, is they go, here's how I think, here's how the rest of everybody should think. And what you've got to look at is, here's how everybody thinks, and are we on target or not?
Right. And what's working and what isn't, and what the needs of the populace are, especially as you're an assemblyman. And I know your district is rather large, but still yet you have a certain demographic of people and certain needs of the populace there, and they're obviously going to vote for the person who's going to, what you would hope, do the best job and serve them up in D.C. I mean, in Sacramento. So.
No, absolutely. It's I say, the Greeks and Romans had all this stuff figured out with things like logos, ethos, and pathos. And when it comes to candidates, you've got to have the right person with the right message talking to the right people. And if you don't have all 3 of those things, you're going to lose. And if you do, you're going to win. And for me, it's I represent the 26th district. It's Tulare County, part of Kern County, Olivenio County, and I'm a Valley kid, born and raised. We joke, and it's I'm just a dirt poor Okie kid from Porterville, California. But I've also grew up. I went, fought in the war, came home, went to college, and worked my way up the hard way.
Right, and you have a family. You're a family man as well, right? So.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
And I got a bunch of kids, so my family. We're not a rich aristocracy family, but everybody here locally knows who we are. They know us. They trust our word. They know we work hard, and that we care about service and serving others.
Right. So now, talking about service, where do you see yourself moving forward, in January as things progress? There is a 2/3 majority. The Democrats have a stronghold now. Some of the biggest concerns, I would say, throughout California from the people I hear talking, Medicare for all, and some of these big chunk initiatives that they see the Democrats moving forward on. What do you see as one of the things that you're going to put forth in your reelection, and where do you see yourself fighting back for the people in your district and for the state of California?
Well, I mean, one of the things we're looking at especially right now, is defunding the high-speed rail. I mean, we have all these cap-and-trade dollars. There's a handful of us that worked really, really hard on reforming cap-and-trade from what it was as Senate Bill 32 and actually putting some measures in that thing and trying to make it a little bit better for businesses in the economy. And we fought really hard for that, and a lot of us went through a lot of political battles in the elections over that. And, most of us that went up on that, who weren't on target seats, actually all the members that were for it that weren't in target seats actually won by larger margins than other people. And, but one of the things with it is when you look at high-speed rail, high-speed rail was something we went against. We still go against. I still don't agree with it. And everything that we're looking at right now, and even, the state auditor is saying this thing's a boondoggle and needs to be shut down. So I'm going to run legislation to stop using cap-and-trade dollars for high-speed rail and have that money go back into those programs that are supposed to be, for our health, for our benefit, for our businesses, our kids, our futures, and where it needs to be, not just throwing it away.
Right. Because that is what a lot of Californians, even Democrats, view the high-speed rail as. It's just this big empty pit, like a money pit, like that movie where the couple buys this house and they just keep throwing money at it, and it's already outdated. So there are concerns, and not saying that we don't. I think most people in California see that we have certain needs, and there might be a place or space for some type of mass transit, of course, but just how do we accomplish these things? Is it rail? Is it high speed? Is it, I mean, how does populace get served and where? It's a concern. So I'm glad to hear that you're going to be addressing that issue. Now, what about, for example, the Medicare for All? Because again, like I mentioned earlier, that is a concern for a lot of people.
Yeah, that is such a mess. And, I think if people actually understood what it really is, there's a reason why European countries are stepping away from it.
Right.
There's a reason why they're looking at other ways, because they've gone through and they've learned those lessons, and they're trying to figure all of that out. And, when you look at the economics on these things, it's really, that one's a tough pill to swallow. And, I'm hoping that there are, and I think one of the biggest things, too, is that people need to understand is when you get under the dome in Sacramento, it's not just Democrat versus Republican.
Right.
There's moderate Democrats, there's progressive Democrats. These people come from all kinds of different shapes and backgrounds and everything else. And, just because they're a Democrat doesn't mean that you can't work with them. And, last year I was able to get a CEQA housing bill signed to get rid of CEQA litigation for fixing up, the beaten up houses in our neighborhoods. So we can help get those houses fixed to help with the homeless problem.
Right,
and I had a Democrat from San Francisco who helped champion that with me. Who would think a San Francisco Democrat senator would team up with a Valley Republican and get a bill to the governor's desk and get it signed to cut the red tape of CEQA of the California Environmental Quality Act? But we did it.
Right.
And, I've always taken the approach, maybe it's because I'm a military guy, but it's who can we get at the table? What resources can they bring? What's the mission? How do we get it done? I don't care who's at the table, as long as we're working on the goal.
It needs to serve the people, too. This is the issue, is it's just so much of the problems we see are agenda. It doesn't matter what side. And really, the people are the ones who are suffering right now.
No, absolutely.
The politics needs to get out of the way, and the people need to be put first, and their needs. So,
no, Erin, you said it. That you just said my platform that I run on every year. For me, it's never been about pushing a political agenda. It hasn't been about, as much as I want to see the Republican Party succeed, that's how I grew up. I know, and I got raised, and my grandma was around. We grew up on Reagan and Jesus.
That's
And
not a bad mix. It's not a bad mix, but that was
not
when
not a bad
politics
mix.
aren't what they are today.
Not
I
a
mean,
bad mix at all. But Republicans don't follow the Reagan 11th commandment. They'd rather say you're not conservative enough and burn you at the stake, and that doesn't work. One of the things I've been reflecting on is through all my studies and everything else in college. One of the things we went through was the Catholic Reformation, and how Martin Luther came out and pinned his findings on the door and walked off, and then you had the Protestant church start. But at some point, the Catholics realized this wasn't working out for them, and burning people at the stake didn't work, and they changed their ways and moved forward. And we've got to do a deep dive as a party and figure out what we're going to do and how to better serve the people, because we all know the Democrat approach of socialism isn't working.
well, it won't work.
And it doesn't
Right.
work. And you look at Venezuela, you look at Greece, you look at these countries that have gone that way, and they're just tore apart, and their people are suffering more and more.
Right.
And,
We have record
for me,
homelessness here.
I didn't go to war, Erin, to have my home here in California that I love and care deeply about and see my friends and neighbors suffer.
right.
And, but at the same time, you don't convert people to your side with hellfire and brimstone. You have to have a conversation from the heart.
Right.
And be meaningful and talk about, the things that matter. And the things that matter to people are their families. Is keeping a roof over their head, feeding their kids, making sure their kids have programs after school so they're not getting in trouble. And I think that's one of the things, Republicans really need to work on, is we're always talking about business.
Important. Communication and messaging is really important. It's something that I believe has been lost.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I always look at, I'm, like you said, I'm a family man. I look at, how does this affect my family? How does this affect my neighbor's family and the folks I go to church with? And if at the end of the day, when I cast votes, can I explain this is how this affects your family? This is, the cause and the effect. Can I communicate that message? And that's what I look at. And that's what I communicate, and I think that's why my reelection we won by just about 20%.
Yeah, I saw you. You're
good.
at 58% right now, right?
Yep.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah, and I mean that's a pretty for time and standard right now in California. That's a pretty nice little wide margin there. So yes. Well, I have to tell you, we're just so grateful that you've run for office again and are willing to put yourself out there after serving your country. And we know you have a family and your heart is for the people. We're just glad that you stepped up and are willing to do the work, because it is hard work. It is hard work. And, we look forward to hearing more from you, as time goes on, maybe in March, see how things are going, because I think California has a lot of problems, but you are right. We have to communicate more, communicate effectively, and ensure that the message is being heard, because that is our weak spot, and we know it. So now we can do something with it, right? But we have to also spread that message, because I think that some in the Republican Party are a little hard of hearing.
Well, Erin, it's that's why it's a blessing that we have you doing your show and help to get the word out and let people understand. There's a voice of reason out there, and there's Republicans that have common sense that want to, and younger Republicans at that.
Right.
That not all millennials are a bunch of crazy snowflakes or the next generation of hippies or something like that. Like
Right.
some of our elders would like people to believe.
Right.
And coming from being one of the first millennial, combat veterans with a Purple Heart elected in the country, I sit here and I look at it, and it's, I understand the things that my generation cares about, and
right.
grew up, in those society norms of, what was taboo for our parents is normal for us, and getting people to understand those things. These things have changed, and maybe we shouldn't be dying on a cross for them. Maybe we need to look at how to communicate that better. How I personally feel, from growing up and my upbringing and my religion and everything else isn't necessarily how society always feels.
Well, you're there to serve your district, and, that's a whole slew of people. So it's not just religious. There's going to be atheists. There's going to be agnostics. There's going to be all married different, groups of people. So it's, I think that you have to be able to communicate the message, and the people have to get the message as well. And you're serving everyone, not just one person, one group type. So that's also an important thing to
No, you said it though. You're not there to serve yourself.
Right.
The job is to serve the people that you represent. And I think that's where a lot of folks in politics get it wrong. They might get in thinking, this is about service and all the great things they say in their campaigns. But you have to be dedicated, and you have to understand it's not about yourself.
Right.
It's not about how you as an individual may feel on a subject. And I've cast some really hard votes. And
you're being held accountable to them. That's for certain.
And I've had a hard time with some of them. And but at the same time, I've lived to tell the tale.
Well, I have to tell you, thank you again so much for running, and going up for re-election. And we have to end the interview right now, but I want to tell you, thank you again so much, Devon. And
no, Erin, again, thank you. I love being on with you. I love that you're out there getting the message out for us and just bringing some common sense to the whole thing.
Well, we're here anytime if you want to speak up, and God bless you, and hold tight up there in Sacramento, okay?
Will do.
All right. Bye.
Take care.
Thank you again for joining us for another edition of the Erin Cruz Show. Make sure you tune in next week. We're going to have some really hot topics and some great people on, candidates, maybe future candidates. I don't know. But tune in next week. Please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to all of our channels. Go to erincruz.com. Go to the bottom of the page. There's social links there. Connect. I can't say it enough. Make sure you connect. This is how we're going to get back on track here in the state of California, and also throughout the nation, and Trump 2020, baby. So thank you again for your support. God bless all of you. Stay safe out there. It is the holiday season, Christmas season. God bless you. God bless California. And God bless the United States of America.
To hear more and to learn more on how you can make an impact or about the Erin Cruz Show, visit us online at erincruz.com. That's erincruz.com. Thank you for joining us, and see you at the same time and the same place next week. To hear more and to learn more on how you can make an impact or about the Erin Cruz Show, visit us online at erincruz.com. That's erincruz.com.